All right, I should be streaming live on YouTube. Had a little technical difficulty there, but hopefully we're up and running. So let's take a quick look. My assistant, I need you to check on YouTube. Okay, I had to go on YouTube a little bit differently today, you guys, but it's okay because I'm still live. That's like the best thing, okay? So hello everybody. Valerie Lewis right here, coming to you live from the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And today we are diving into chapter 4 of The Science of Getting Rich. So I'm really excited about this because we are going to be talking about the first principle in The Science of Getting Rich. So let me see if I can move this over just a smidgen. Okay, awesome. You guys can see me okay, I hope. So far, I hope you have been really getting a lot of value from the book. It is amazing, and as each chapter goes on, your mind just explodes even more with all of these wonderful nuggets that Wallace Wattles goes into sharing and describing and explaining. So that's really good too. And especially with this one, because now we're really digging in. Now we're going into the actual principles. So I'm going to actually pull open my book now. All right. And hopefully you had a chance to go ahead and read it like I did. And as usual, we'll start at the top. We'll start at the beginning of the chapter and we kind of work through some of the things that he brought up. So right here from the very first paragraph, thought's the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance, from the stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks. So right there, you guys. Now, from my personal belief system, you know, I'm a Christian, so we know who that is. Okay, we call that God. God is this formless substance. He has no particular. The spirit has no particular shape or form, right? And through Christ, we know all things are made. So I believe in the Father, Son, Holy Spirit is all one. It's one substance. It's one formless power. And he is the creator. And the creator has created us to create other things. That's one of the things that so many of us find so much joy and fulfillment in, is creating. And it's because we've been created in that same image, right? To be able to go out here and also create. God loves to create. He was so loves us so much. He created us in his image, and so therefore we are also created to get out here and create as well. So that's like what I picked up from that. And I was like, oh shucks, I didn't know we were getting into this, reading this book. Perhaps you have a different belief system. Again, it's totally okay, because we have to remember that we are walking into this book with an open mind, and keeping and accepting this as fact, as truth. And it would be no different from you saying, okay, look, I'm going to just take the fact that electricity comes from lightning and it works in my house. Look, getting into all the details right now is not the issue. We can do that later. But as far as just understanding these principles, this first principle, okay, cool. We'll go into it deeper in a little bit. Does that make sense? Is everybody good on that? Okay. Awesome. So, all right. So as you go on, since God is intelligent, well, I'm okay. I'll use the book's terminology. But since this original substance thinks, it's an intelligent substance. It thinks as it creates things. It thinks, and then it becomes what the thought was. So I kind of looked at it like, you know, when you want to have your house built, right? The first thing that you need is to be able to draw up the floor plans, right? You can't just get out there and just start putting a house together, just go buy some wood and just, you know, you have to actually have the idea in your mind as to how this house is going to be built and make sure that it's going to be feasible before you do anything else, right? You have to think it out and get those thoughts out on paper, and then you can start creating the house. And then we start focusing on the details, getting the wood, getting the roofing material, getting the foundation, putting the walls up, all that. Then you get into that. Then you get into, okay, now we're going to put in the plumbing, we're going to put in the electricity, you know, all the um, windows, the doors. Like, little by little, the more you're thinking about it, right, and the more this starts to take shape until eventually your house is done. And I've seen a couple friends of mine this past year getting their homes built, and they've been documenting it along the way, posting it on Facebook and things like that. And it's been a really exciting journey to watch them go from, okay, here's a picture of the breaking the ground, to now here's my house and I'm moving in, right? And I'm decorating and having fun. So that's kind of how I thought about it. It's like, oh yeah, before I can make something, I have to think about it. Like, duh, right? And the more you think about something, the more you start to believe it. And he goes on into this chapter to talk about that, which we will also. Um, but just because you think about something, I do want to say this about it. Just because you think about something doesn't mean it's going to happen. You have to think about it repeatedly. You have to think about it on a regular basis. You have to think about it habitually. The more you think about it, the more you think about something, whether it's something good or something bad, the more you start to believe it. And it's your beliefs that become things. Because people can, think about getting married or think about having kids, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have kids. But when you're thinking about that on a regular basis and you're coming up with a plan as to how you're going to do that, that's when things start to take shape. So when you think about something on a regular basis, continually, and it's something bad, we call it worrying. But when it's something good, we call it meditating, right? Visualizing, right? So you really want to think about what you're thinking about, because the more you think about it, the more it becomes solidified in your mind as a belief. All right, so that's what I'm getting from it. So share with me what you're thinking about that as well. And then also, um, oh yeah, that was something else I wanted to bring up. The fact that even though you think of something and you're doing it continually, not always is the thing that you believe in going to just pop up automatically. And even when the original formless substance, this intelligent substance, is creating something, um, or reproducing something, it is not always done instantly. So, for example, if I eat an apple and I get down to the core and I say, you know what, I'd like a lot more apples like this, right? And so I take one of the seeds from the apple and plant it in my backyard. I'm not going to get up, go to bed, get up the next morning and expect to see an apple tree, right? It's going to take time for that process to happen for me to have more apples, but it will happen. Okay? And it's the same thing when the formless substance, let me see if I can grab this from the book. Uh Thinking the form of a slow growing tree, it moves accordingly and produces the tree, though centuries may be required to do the work. Right? It will form. It will form. Everything may not form instantly, but it will form unless you kill the process, right? If I plant that apple seed in the ground to grow me an apple tree, I will end up with apples. I'm going to end up with a whole tree full of apples, hundreds of apples, unless I kill the process. So it's the same thing with your mind. You will be able to start believing in something and start taking action towards it so that you can attract it towards you, and it will come to you unless you kill the thought. If you stop thinking about it, if you stop believing in it, then you're not going to get it. And it works both ways, whether it's something good or bad. If you focus on something good, then you will produce that good. If you focus on the negative stuff, you will produce the negative stuff. If you focus on something good for a while and try it out, and then you stop, all you're going to attract to you is the stuff that you didn't want. And it's same thing the other way. If you've been focusing on something bad for a while and you finally stop thinking that thing, right, you will start to produce the opposite, the thing that you actually want. Okay, so let's see. He also goes on. Every thought of the form held in the thinking substance causes the creation of the form, but always, or at least generally, along the lines of growth and action already established. So that's one thing, like when it comes to my belief system, I already know that when God created this whole universe, there are universal laws in action all the time. There are, earthly rules that he has placed on this planet, so that as this planet is working, there's certain things that are in place that is just the law, right? And that's when you could start looking at like mathematical equations and things like that. What they are is what they are is what they are. Right? When you've got a mathematical law, it is what it is. You are never going to come up with something different, right? Same thing with certain scientific laws and things like that, like gravity, for example. Right? You can't see gravity, right? You can't feel gravity. You just know it's here because you're not floating around, okay? So, and you don't even have to necessarily know exactly how it works. You don't even actually have to believe in it. It doesn't make it any less true. Y'all get what I'm saying? So it's the same thing here. There are laws in place all over the planet, all over the universe, that are taking shape. And as the universe continues to operate and be in motion, it's all caused by the thinking substance. And it's just like what the Bible says, Jesus holds all things together. And that's how these things are being operated. That's what I believe. If you believe something different, I totally respect that. Okay, cool. We don't need to even go into a whole, thread on my video. Like, I don't care. Just stop. Okay, so anyway, let's move down a little bit. Oh yeah, this was a part that I really like. When man has a thought form, he takes the material from the forms of nature and he makes an image of the form which is in his mind. Right? You got to think it before you can make it. Even little kids with Play-Doh, right? Sit a kid down, give them some Play-Doh, or sit a kid down, give them a piece of paper and some crayons, that good old Crayola, right? What is that child going to do? Have you ever like really stopped to pay attention? Like you put that in front of a small child and at first they sit there for a minute and then they grab the tools. They're like, got it. And they grab it and they start to shape something. They start to form something. They start to create something. They are not thinking about, any limitations, what can and cannot be done, what does and does not actually exist. They're going to draw or they are going to shape whatever it is that's in their mind. Because if it's in their mind, they believe it to be something that can be here in front of their eyes. And that is something I totally love about children. I try to think more like a child when it comes to, my business and making sure that I don't put those limitations that others believe in, that I don't adopt those into my own mind. Anything is possible. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. So that's something that I believe. But I just found that, really fascinating. And then he goes on to say he has so far made little or no effort to cooperate with the formless intelligence. Or in other words, to work with the Father. He has not dreamed that he can, quote, do what he seeth the Father doing. Man reshapes and modifies forms that already exist by manual labor. He's given no attention to the question of whether he may not produce things from formless substance by simply communicating his thoughts to it. Oh, I love that, because we do. We do. You've heard that term, ain't nothing new under the sun and all that. Like, we basically take things that are already here and then we modify it into something else. But what if the thing that you're thinking about, you simply impress that thought upon the thinking substance that you can't see? Ooh. Now, some of y'all might be like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? Go read the other chapters first, okay? And then also, just incorporate what he's talking about. Just plug it into your current belief system. Challenge your belief system. Is what he's saying congruent with what it is that your belief system is? Now, for some of you, it may not be. And if it's not, again, you're only on chapter 4. You're going to have to get through the whole book. This is gut check time to figure out whether or not you actually have an open mind and you're willing to at least listen and continue reading to see. Then make up your mind when you're done. Or if you're going to see, oh my God, I don't believe this, and then you walk away, and then you'll never know. You will never know. Okay, there are tons of things that I've learned from people that have different belief systems than I do, and it doesn't make me any less of a Christian. Okay, as a matter of fact, there are lots of things that I learned from people that are beneficial that actually show me things that I hadn't even noticed in my own Bible before. And they believe something totally different. They never read a Bible before. So this is one of those books that actually made me go back, and I'm like, you know what? That's in the Word. Okay. But anyway, you just really want to think about that, because this formless substance, this intelligent substance, this is, by my definition, you don't have to take my definition, but to me, that's God. Okay. And he's even quoting a little bit of scripture anyway. So, he goes on to say, first, we must assert that there is one original formless stuff or substance which all things are made. Hey, that's in Genesis, y'all. That's in the Bible for my fellow Christians. Y'all know this. Okay? There is one original formless stuff or substance which all things are made. Okay? All the seemingly many elements are but different presentations of one element. Have you guys ever heard about what scientists are starting to call the God gene? Where everything that exists, there is this one small notation in the DNA of everything that we all have in common, and they're calling it the God gene, since the Creator created everything. So I'm like, oh snap, I need to go and learn some more about that. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. So he goes on to say, all the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are but different shapes made from the same stuff, and this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in thinking substance produces shapes. Man is a thinking center. Again, made in his image, right? We're a thinking center too, capable of original thought. And if man can communicate his thought to the original thinking substance, he can cause the creation or formation of the thing that he thinks about. Boom. Okay, so to summarize this, Wallace Wattles goes on to say, to give you three basic principles in this one chapter. Okay, or in this one principle. So I'm actually going to put it up on my screen because I took a moment to type it out. Can you guys see that there? Okay. So this is the first part of the principle. All right. That there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. This is something that you are just going to have to accept as true as you continue on reading the book. Because I highly recommend finish reading the book first and then make up your mind about it. Okay? Alright, so let's see. He also goes on to say, here's the next one. Okay? A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Alright? Next, he goes on to say, man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Boom. Okay? So you think about that. Because I basically see it like this. Like, if somebody's like, I don't get it, somebody break this down for me. Okay, cool. Break it down for you like this. Okay? First off, God exists. Like, that's the first thing I see when I'm reading this. Okay? God exists. God is real. And he is everywhere. Just like the Bible tells you already. Okay? Next thing, he's an intelligent God. He knows what he's doing. So even the times that you don't know and you don't understand, don't worry about that. He's got you. Okay? That's the next thing I got out of that. Then, I can go to him. Lots of us call it prayer. I can go to him and share my thought with him. And when I go to him with the things that I'm thinking about, he can allow for the things that I'm thinking about to be created, even if they haven't been created on this earth yet. Right? And let me preface that. Let me break that down a little bit more, because everything that we need, everything that we'll ever need in life is already here. But as far as like when I say he can cause it to be created, even if it hasn't been created yet, I'm talking about like an idea, a certain invention, a certain creation, things like that. When you have an idea in your head that maybe nobody else has ever heard of before, don't worry about that. Don't listen to those people telling you you can't do it. That's never been done before, right? Look at the Wright brothers. Hello, people have for centuries have been trying to figure out how to make man fly, and they tried and failed. I believe even who was it? Leonardo da Vinci even tried, and he's like not known for that, but he's tried as well. And if all they listened to was the things that they could see around them and the people telling them what is and what isn't reality, oh, that's not logical. Don't, why even waste your time on that? If they had listened to all that crap, we would not have all these major airlines. We would not be able to travel all over the world the way that we can today. You see what I mean? Like, your thoughts, the things that you think about, the things that you would like to do or to say or to make that would change the world can be done. Don't let anybody tell you they can't, because you shouldn't be talking to the other people about it, right? Going to see what their opinion is. You need to go to God. You need to go to this formless substance, this intelligent original substance, and impress your thought upon his thought. I call it prayer. Okay? So hopefully that breaks it down. Everybody gets it. All right, cool. So now, all right. So he goes on to say, it may be asked if I can prove these statements. And without going into details, I can answer that yes, I can do so, both by logic and by experience. Okay. So, he says, reasoning back from the phenomena of form and thought, I come to one original thinking substance. And then reasoning forward from this thinking substance, I come to man's power to cause the formation of the thing that he thinks about. And by experiment, I find the reasoning to be true. And this is my strongest proof. So if one man who reads this book gets rich by doing what it tells him to do, then it is evidence in support of my claim. It's just more and more evidence piled on. And eventually, you'll have enough evidence to where it's just overwhelming evidence. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I want more and more people to read this book. I encourage more and more people to read this book and test this and see if it's not true. Test this to see whether or not you're actually going to do it, but you have to follow it in a certain way. You have to actually do this. You have to stick with the thought, right? And allow it to become a belief. So he says, but if every man who does what it tells him to do gets rich, then that's positive proof until someone goes through the process and fails, which is not going to happen, but I get what he's saying. The theory is true until the process fails. And this process will not fail, for every man who does exactly what this book tells him to do will get rich. And I have said that men get rich by doing things in a certain way. And in order to do so, men must become able to think in a certain way. So it is obvious, in order to do something or in order to have something, you've got to think about it first. I mean, that's just like a no-brainer right there. You can't function without your brain being in action. You can't live without your brain being in action. Right? You can't do certain things. You can't create certain things. You can't think certain things without your brain working. So right there, and you think about it. When you say, I'm hungry, and I don't want to be hungry, I want to be full. Right? What do? You get up, you go in the kitchen, you grab yourself a snack, right? Or you prepare a meal, you eat the food, and then you're full. You're not hungry anymore. Right? But that thought popped into your mind at first. Or, I got the sensation I need to go use the bathroom. I have to go wee-wee, right? And then you get up because of that thought. You believe you have to use the bathroom. So now you get up and you walk into a restroom and you use it, right? So yeah, you think it and then you can do it, right? You always think it first and then you can do it. And no, we're not talking about like your subconscious where things are involuntarily working, like your heart and breathing and that kind of stuff. No, you're thinking about it, but you don't realize you're thinking about it. That's subconscious stuff. I'm not even going to get into that. Not in this book. Okay. So he says, you know, a man's way of doing things is the direct result of the way that he thinks about things. How do you think about things? How do you think about life? How do you think about what do you think about yourself? How do you think about reality? How do you think about faith? You know, what do you think about that? Because that, you know, what you do, your daily actions is based upon what you believe. So to do things in a way that you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. And this is the first step towards getting rich. To think what you want to think is to think truth, regardless of appearances. And every man has the natural and inherent power to think what he wants to think, but it requires far more effort to do that than it does to think the things that you can already see. Right? So he goes on. I love this part. Oh, this is my favorite part of the chapter. Okay. Let's see. There's no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. This is especially true. Oh, wait, I missed this little part right here. Listen. Take this. If you don't take anything else from this video, okay, take this. To think according to appearance is easy. To think truth, regardless of appearances, that's laborious. That requires the expenditure of more power than any other work that man is called upon to perform in life. Y'all know this is true. This is the very thing that you learn when you get up and you're going to church every week, right? Or going to synagogue, going to mosque. This is a common thread amongst all belief systems. Is the fact that the thing that's going to cause you to change your life is having faith, having a belief, right? And it's so hard to do because the things that you're called upon to believe are a lot of times things that you can't see, or things that are different from what you see, right? And that is hard for so many people. Your average person who doesn't really have any type of, well, I think everybody has some form of a belief system, but your average person who doesn't believe the types of things that you believe is not living the type of life that you live, even though we're all here on the same planet, right? So yes. So back to what I was talking about. There's no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It's the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when the truth is contrary to appearances. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. And this can only be prevented by holding on to the thought of the truth. Right? I could give you so many examples from different things that I've seen, I've read. I could share, like, let me share this with you guys. I know we're going into the half hour, but I started my online business and I became a part of an entrepreneurial community that was definitely helping me out. It was helping me finally figure out how to make money and not be spammy and amateurish, and learn how to do it professionally, because I'm big on professionalism. So I'm like, I'm not coming out here looking stupid, okay? I need to know what to do. And they taught me so much, and they were holding an event just 4 months into the future of me having just, you know, joined the community. And so I didn't have the funds. I had been like totally exhausting my savings from leaving the salon and working from home, and going through the struggle of trying to figure out, how am I supposed to get leads? How do I get sales? I don't get this. And but this event was going to be major. Listen, you guys, I had the faith, I had the belief that this was something important and that I was going to go. I did not have the money at the time to get a ticket. I did not have the money at the time for a plane ticket there and back. I did not have the money for the hotel. I did not have the money for this stuff. But I was determined to go. I got my buns up because of my belief that I'm going to go. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to start making this happen. What are some actions I can take right now to make sure that 4 months from now, I will be on that plane headed to Austin, Texas from Washington, D.C. Okay? So I started Sorry, you guys. So I started to, follow the training that they were giving me. I started using the tools that they gave to me. I went out there, I talked with more people, I brought more people onto my team, I sold more of my products and services, and I started accumulating the money. So I had the money for like 2 out of the 3 days for a hotel, and then I had the money for the plane ticket to get there. So I was like, cool, good enough. Then I had a means to be able to get the ticket for the actual event. So I was like, yes, I'm in there. So lo and behold, 4 months later, right? Oh, and I forgot to mention this. 1 month into this, I was like, you know what? I don't want to just go there. I want to hit my first leadership level inside of this community because I want to be able to walk the stage, um, uh, earn an award. Like, I can really see myself doing it. Now, mind you, anybody else would have been like, Val, are you crazy? You just started with this. You think you're going to get results in 3 months? Really? You think you're going to get that level of results? That you're going to be able to get on stage? Are you serious? Right? Like, a lot of people probably would have been thinking those things. Um, but this is where you have to believe the truth. You've got to believe the truth. And I believe in the truth that I am destined for greatness. I am an amazing leader. And so that means I need to continue working and developing on my leadership skills in order to make sure that that stays true, right? I am a successful entrepreneur. Even when the difficulty comes, you guys. So that's something really important. But anyway, so I get on the plane. I had my ticket. I got on the plane. Now, mind you, I had a ticket to get there, but I did not have a ticket to get back. So I was like, oh Lord, oh Lord, don't let me end up stuck in Austin, okay? But I got on the plane and I was kind of anxious because I've never been on a plane that long. It was only 3 hours, but I hadn't been on a plane that long before. I hadn't gone that far. I've never been off the East Coast, so I was just slightly anxious. And it was like God was telling me, just rest. Just rest. So I was like, all right. So I had my cup of tea from the flight attendant, and then I just dozed off to sleep. So when I did that, oh gosh, sorry, my nose is so, I don't know what's going on. So itchy. Okay, so anyway, so I dozed off, took my nap. By the time I woke up, we were just about to land. Once we landed, the flight attendant had said, okay, now you can turn your devices back on and everything. And when I turned my device on, I saw I had an email notification. That email notification was a huge congratulations, you hit your first leadership level, which meant I was going to be able to walk the stage. It takes the consistent process of thinking to the point that you finally believe it, that is actually planted into your subconscious mind. Because your subconscious is the thing, I personally believe, your subconscious, that is a part of you that is like your spirit. This is the part of you that's connected to the supernatural. And once you make up your mind in your subconscious mind, right? People consciously say stuff all day and they don't know what they're talking about. They're not serious about it. But once it's planted in your subconscious mind, which is therefore a belief, when you finally believe it, that's when you're going to be operating out of that belief. The actions that you take are going to be out of that belief. And as you believe it, the entire universe goes into work, right? The things you can see and the things that you can't see. There were people out there that were waiting to connect with me. And finally, they came across my stuff online. They came across my information and we made a connection and they joined my team or they purchased my stuff, which caused me to have the money, the resources necessary to be able to go where I wanted to go, right? So then not only was I able to walk the stage at this event, but someone had heard about how determined I was to get there. And they knew that I didn't have my ticket back home yet. I was actually waiting on some money to clear in my bank so that I could get the ticket. And they had already bought the ticket for me. I don't know who it was. It was anonymous, but Mel, the the VP had come up to me and told me about it, and I was just in tears, because that was one of the biggest leaps of faith that I had taken in a long time. And lo and behold, it all turned out perfect. It all turned out exactly the way that it needed to, because I made it to the event. I learned so much from the event. I made so many connections at the event. And my belief level just went up even higher, to know that this original substance is real, is true, and this original substance is a thinking substance, and it's also a loving substance. But we'll get into that later, because that wasn't in the book. I'm adding stuff now, okay? So anyway, he goes on to even say that to look upon the appearances of poverty will only produce corresponding forms in your own mind, unless you hold to the truth that there is no poverty, there is only abundance. To look upon the appearance of disease will produce the form of disease in your own mind and ultimately in your body, unless you hold the thought of the truth, which is that there is no disease, it is only an appearance, and the reality is health. Now listen, I know there are lots of people out here that'll be like, hold on, Val. You don't understand. Some diseases are hereditary. I have this illness, or my child has this illness. And I have a belief. You don't have to have this belief, but I have a belief that you can get rid of any illness, any sickness, if you got a strong enough belief level to do so. You just have to build it up. You have to build up your faith. Now, some people are going to say, okay, I don't believe that. That's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to. Okay? It's okay. It's all right. We're cool. Okay. But when you look around, and I can give you this example too. I went to the doctor one day, just for your average female exam. They told me I had an abnormal exam. They were going to have to do some tests because they were thinking that I could possibly have cervical cancer. I refused to believe that. I believed in only health. I believed that this original substance, this intelligent substance, knew that if there was in fact something going on in my body that shouldn't be, that they knew how to fix it, and I would be guided on the things that I would need to do to fix it. And the only thing that I was given guidance to do was believe that I was healthy. Like, seriously, I didn't have to go take no special vitamins. I didn't have to do no special exercises. I just needed to believe. So 2 weeks later, when I went for the scheduled exam and the biopsy and all that, they had done the tests and everything, and they had let me know they didn't see anything. As a matter of fact, what they thought they saw in the first test, they didn't even see that anymore. Okay. When I had my kids, I was a high-risk pregnancy. I had both of them prematurely. They kept telling me, oh my goodness, your children are going to be so sickly. They're going to have all these problems, allergies. One of them might have lung issues and all this kind of stuff, breathing problems. Both of my children are perfectly healthy. They have absolutely no type of illness whatsoever. Why? Because I believe that they would. That's what I believe. I believe that it's because I believe that they would. Okay? And so that's a really important thing, to be able to hold on to the truth, even when you're looking around and things are trying to entice you to believe that the truth that you want to hold on to is something that you should let go of. Okay? So anyway, he goes on to say, to think health when surrounded by the appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty, requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. A mastermind. He can conquer fate, and he can have whatever he wants. Boom. So let's go on. Let's see some other stuff in here. Okay, so then he basically recaps those three, the three sub-principles under this one particular principle for getting rich. Okay, and he goes on to say, you must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monistic one, and you must dwell upon it until it is fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory. Meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea, because if you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. Okay, so the science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. Same thing for me. As I was working on those goals that I had, yes, things popped up that caused me to wonder and doubt, and I had to immediately throw that away and say, nope, I'm going to stay focused on this goal. I'm going to keep moving forward, and there are times you're going to have to pray a little more than you normally do. You have to lean on the Lord, or whatever, it is that you believe in. But that, my friends, is the end of chapter 4. So hopefully you got a lot of value from that. Even if you are catching the replay, I want you to make sure that you comment. Put some comments in here. Hey, Minnie, I'm seeing you now. I'm finally seeing some chat comments. But yeah, add your thoughts on this. I would really like. I don't think that I know everything. I don't think that what I got from the book is what everybody's going to get from the book. And I would be really excited to know exactly what it is that you get from it. So make sure that you share that in the comments, whether you catch me live or you catch in the replay. Okay? Because I plan to leave this on YouTube for a long time. I'm hoping we get into the millions of people who get to watch this, and we can all grow together, whether you're in business or not. Okay, so thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video tomorrow when we talk about chapter 5. Right, we're on 5 now, right? Yeah, chapter 5, which is increasing life. You guys, I can tell y'all right now, this was another one of my favorite chapters. Like, maybe all of them are my favorite, I don't know, but this one, woo! If you haven't read this book before, get on in there. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so right now it's only 3 on YouTube live, but that's okay, because we're going to build this up to 3 million. We're going to make this exponential. So I'm really excited about that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you so very much for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Get yourself back here. Invite some friends and family, people that you love, you care about, they want to have a fulfilled life. They need to read this book. Bring them on into the club. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.